The MLB offseason is rolling. We've already had some huge trades, some big signings. So I want to tell you guys about my 5 favorite free agents that could be signed by a major league team this offseason. I'm going to pick and choose some guys from all over the free agent board. I have some stars that I really like, some mid-tier guys I really like, and some really underrated lower key guys I like a lot, especially guys who could be changing roles this season, possibly some guys coming over from Japan this season. And also, again, some guys at the top of the free agent board who've had great major league careers already. If you guys are not already, please subscribe to the channel down below. Also, don't forget to drop a like on this video and let me know in the comments who your favorite or least favorite free agents are. But first up, I think my favorite free agent this offseason, oddly enough, is Pete Alonso, first baseman from the Mets. You guys see the Mets poster behind me. I love Pete. I love the Mets. I've watched almost every single at-bat this guy's ever taken as a pro, and I oddly think right now, the way the offseason has started, his market underwhelming again. I think Pete is just underrated. For the case in point is, it's really difficult to buy power like Pete Alonso has. Only Aaron Judge and Kyle Schwarber have more home runs than Pete since he entered the league in 2019, and we're looking at a guy right now who still has absolutely elite bat speed, who hits the ball harder than basically anybody else in the entire show. But still just 30 years old, Pete has multiple years of elite bat speed ahead of him, surely. We can even probably look to the way that Kyle Schwarber has gone from age 30 to age 32 and see that those ages can be fruitful when you're starting with elite bat speed. And Pete Alonso is starting with elite bat speed. He has better than a 75-mile-per-hour average bat speed going on 3 seasons in a row, with a peak speed in 2023 at 75.7 miles per hour. That was when Pete was 28 years old, but that was also when he had the longest swing of his career at 7.4 feet. Then the year after that, Pete still had a 75.2-mile-per-hour average bat speed, while he took down his swing length just a bit, 7.3 feet. And then this past year, 75.3 miles an hour, so a slight tick back up with that bat speed, but also the shortest swing he's ever had, 7.1 feet. The longer your swing is, the more time your bat has to generate force as it comes through the zone. So the longer your swing, there's generally a correlation to having higher bat speed, because again, more time to build up that force, build up that speed. The fact that Pete is at a spot right now where he's 30 years old and he was able to have his shortest swing while also having one of his highest bat speeds, that tells me again, there is a high ceiling and a high floor still on Pete Alonso's bat speed, which is how he generates his power, which is why a team is signing him as a free agent. And like I said at the top, the market feels suppressed for the second year in a row. It doesn't seem like the Mets are jumping on Pete Alonso. Last year, there were some discrepancies about whether he was being offered a 3-year or 4-year contract, wound up signing a 2-year contract with an opt-out after the first year they took right now. The Red Sox are apparently in the mix, but it doesn't seem like they're super willing to sign both Alonso and Bregman, and it seems like they're a bit hotter on Bregman. After those two teams, as far as contenders go, there isn't really an obvious fit for Pete Alonso. If there's not a huge bidding war, I don't really see how he gets more than 4 years. And if he doesn't get more than 4 years, I think we have 3 years of elite Pete Alonso left, and that 4th year won't be so bad anyway, especially because Pete has said on this next contract he's willing to be more of a designated hitter. I think that's fair because defensively, he's one of the worst first basemen in baseball, especially when he's going across his body as a right-handed first baseman going towards second base. Pete is one of the worst defenders in the entire sport with a -8 outs above average when he tries to get the ball towards second base. Maybe you can just coach that out of him, but we know Pete's a Labrador. He's like a golden retriever. He kind of just loves to play baseball and be on the field and get dirty. Maybe you can't coach that out of him, but if you're not taking the negative defensive value with Pete, if he's DHing half the time, and you still have, like I think we're going to have, 3 or 4 years of elite bat speed with Pete Alonso, I really see no doubt to him being about a 35% better hitter than league average for the next 3 years on what's going to wind up being a contract that's like 4 for 110, kind of at the max. That's a smash buy for me, and one that teams I don't think are taking seriously enough. But all right, the next free agent I like a lot is Devin Williams. Quick disclaimer, recorded this section about Devin Williams the afternoon right before he signed his big deal with the Mets, so the analysis here still holds true, and I'm going to give my reaction to that contract and his role right at the end of this section, so stick around for that. Coming off a dreadful season with the Yankees, where he had a 4.79 ERA, 6 losses, 4 blown saves, he allowed a run in 5 of his first 14 appearances this season, had an ERA that was over 10 on May 5th. I think for a reliever, when you start out that bad, especially with a new team, especially when that team is the Yankees and the biggest media market in the world, it kind of starts this snowball effect where, 1, it can definitely affect you on the field, but 2, it's really hard to kind of mentally leave that spot and for people to not think you're having a total season from hell. Where it did start like a season from hell, but a look under the hood with Devin Williams tells us that not that much was actually different. He still had an elite strikeout rate, 35%, while missing tons of bats and forcing tons of chases out of the strike zone. But one of the biggest differences in Devin Williams' season this year was how much more contact hitters were making on those pitches out of the strike zone, which is really weird. His out of zone contact rate rose from 44% to 52%. And here's a table right now to show you guys Devin Williams' stats on pitches out of the strike zone. Doesn't really make that much sense, considering with the fact that hitters were swinging marginally more than 2 years ago on pitches out of the strike zone, a lot more than last season. The whiff rate on those pitches out of the strike zone cratered, went way down. You see the batting average go up a good bit. And again, these are still low batting average numbers, but the league average slash line on pitches out of the strike zone is a 149 batting average and 204 slugging percentage. So earlier in Williams' career, he was elite relative to the league average on pitches outside the strike zone. This past year, he kind of drifted back to average. But when you look at that batting average in accordance with that slugging and the expected WOBA on those pitches out of the strike zone, it kind of just tells you that a lot of dinky singles were getting through the hole. There wasn't really a lot of better quality of contact from opposing hitters on pitches out of the zone. It was more like the understanding that where Devin Williams was throwing his airbender especially, hitters kind of get the bat out there, force single through the hole, keep an inning moving. And it is kind of what wound up happening to him. You add that on top of the fact that Devin Williams has always been a relief pitcher that was more prone to walks, and he went from pitching in front of one of the best defenses in the league in the Brewers to one of the worst infield defenses in the league to the Yankees. You can understand how something like this would snowball, especially again when the swing and miss was similar, the strikeout rate was similar, and the quality of contact against him was similar. The one cause for concern with Devin Williams, though, was his fastball velocity. It was down a full tick from where it was in 2024, but also was basically exactly where it was between 2022 and 2023. So again, while that ERA from Devin Williams was really ugly and a bit alarming, everything under the hood tells us this is basically still the same pitcher that was considered one of the best closers in the league for the last 5 or so years. It feels to me like he'll be a high-end reliever again. It seems like Major League Baseball teams on the free agent market are treating him like that. It seems like we should be treating him like that in fantasy drafts. And he's just a free agent I think I would really like my team to sign. So funny, I said I'd like my team to sign him. Bang, my team, the Mets, did sign him. The contract for Devin Williams is probably a year longer than I expected, but to lock him in at an AAV below the elite relievers seems like it probably will be a win for the Mets and a very nice contract. The next free agent I really like is Kazuma Okamoto, coming over from the Yomiuri Giants to the MPB. When I first started looking into Okamoto, I actually didn't really like him that much because he had a pretty strange hitting profile. As a 29-year-old righty with some questionable power, but great plate discipline and great bat-to-ball ability, especially in the zone. And it is a bit hard to find advanced data from the MVP, but in terms of surface level stats, Okamoto's been one of the best hitters there since he broke into the league. During his 8-year career over in Japan, he had 250 home runs and a 274, 355, 501 triple slash. Again, it's over 8 years. That's a great career. Also, he began his career with 6 straight 30 home run seasons and hit a career high 41 back in 2023. Since 2021, he has the second most home runs in Japan, only behind Munetaka Murakami, and the 5th highest OPS. Some of the guys ahead of him are Seiya Suzuki and Masataka Yoshida, who've already come stateside, and again, Munetaka Murakami, who's also a free agent this winter. But the coolest thing about Okamoto is that while he has these gaudy power stats in Japan, he very rarely strikes out. He has just a 14% strikeout rate over the last 2 seasons. But from the data that we got from him originally, it said that Okamoto's hardest hit ball in the MPB was 109.8 miles per hour. That right there, right away tells us this is below average power. That compares to players like Ernie Clement, Caleb Durbin, Wilmer Flores, Zach McKinstry. Not exactly the types of power hitters you're banging down the door that get on your roster. But last year, the Yomiuri Giants played against the Chicago Cubs in an exhibition game before the Cubs faced the Dodgers to open the season, and Okamoto had a 112.6 mile an hour double off of Cubs' eventual closer, Daniel Palencia. And that came on a 98 mile an hour fastball from Palencia. So while these hitters in the MPB do not see a lot of velocity, when Palencia dialed up against Okamoto, he laced it. And it wasn't a ground ball double. 12-degree launch angle, that was a nice line drive, and he put an 83 mile an hour swing on that ball. Okamoto also had a 78 mile an hour swing in that game. So right there, we're starting to see the hints of plus power. We're starting to see the hints of plus bat speed. Also, per the Yakyu Cosmopolitan, Okamoto had another batted ball of 112.2 miles per hour in the MPB last year. So now suddenly, we might have plus power. The MLB comps for that max exit velocity, the 112.6, are guys like Drake Baldwin, Brandon Lau, Teoscar Hernandez. Those are some good power hitters. Also, Lance Brozdowski put out a great video on some of the MPB guys coming over this winter, including Okamoto, and in that, he had a stat that Okamoto's 90th percentile exit velocity was 105.2 miles per hour. The MLB comps for 105.2 miles an hour, 90th percentile exit velocity, are Michael Busch, Andrew Vaughn, and Colt Keith. Those are guys with not the best power in the league, but those guys have some pretty good power. But the difference again with Okamoto is the bat-to-ball ability, the contact ability, which he's better than all of those guys I just mentioned. Okamoto had a 90% zone contact rate in Japan this year. That means you only missed 10% of the pitches that he swung at inside the strike zone. With that low swing and miss rate, Okamoto was also amazing at pulling and lifting the ball, being above average in both of those stats. So now we have a guy who might have plus power, he doesn't swing and miss very often, and when he does swing, he will always connect, and when he connects, he's really good at lifting the ball and pulling the ball. So that shows he'll get to even more than the raw power to maximize that contact. The other thing about Okamoto and just players in general coming over from Japan, there's not a lot of high velocity in that league. But per Fangraphs, Okamoto had an 84% contact rate on pitches 94 miles per hour or faster. So right here, we have a guy who might be able to come over and handle major league velocity, makes a lot of contact, plus power, pulls the ball, and lifts the ball. That's a really, really, really good profile. And then add in some defensive value. He played a lot of third base with the Giants in the MPB, but I don't really think he's exactly major league third baseman. He could probably get by there. Fangraphs comped his defensive ability to Max Muncy, but it seems like he has the ability to be a plus first baseman. There are also reports he can mix in left field. In that video that Lance Brozdowski made again, he comped Okamoto's ability as a hitter to Gleyber Torres. I think he's a little bit more juice in this bat than Gleyber Torres, especially in terms of the bat speed. And with those 212-mile-an-hour batted balls, to me, this kind of seems like an Ian Happ, Jorge Polanco type of hitter. Maybe even like a Seiya Suzuki, another guy who came over from Japan a few years ago with a tiny bit, maybe 10% less raw power. Great swing decisions. Guy who's going to be able to maximize his contact. I think I kind of am falling in love with Kazuma Okamoto. Next, we got some sleeper type free agents. First up, Cody Ponce, coming over from the Hanwha Eagles in the KBO. Ponce was a former second-round pick by the Brewers and broke into the league with the Pirates back in 2020 and had a 5.86 ERA over 55 MLB innings. He went to the MVP after the 2021 season, had a few good seasons there, but this year went to the KBO and really elevated himself as a pitcher. He was the best player in that whole league this past season. He had a 1.89 ERA, 0.94 whip, 200-inning season, including a big-time playoff run with the Eagles, struck out a KBO single-season record 228 batters, won the Choi Dong-won Award for the Korean Cy Young, and the KBO MVP award as a pitcher. He also set the new KBO record with 18 strikeouts in a 9-inning game and had an absolutely ridiculously mega elite 30% strikeout minus walk rate. I don't care what league you're in, I don't care who you're playing against. If you strike out 30% more batters than you walked, you're an animal. There's a few big reasons why I'm buying Ponce's breakout in the KBO last season and think his effectiveness will be able to port over to the MLB. First up, scouts say that one, visibly, Ponce was just a lot stronger. I have a quote here from a Fangraphs write-up about him that Ponce dramatically improved his conditioning. Again, bigger, stronger, held his stamina a lot better. He got his velocity up to 97, 98 miles an hour. Boom, right there. That tells me he can be a successful major league pitcher. His average fastball velocity was 95.5 miles an hour when he used to sit between 93 and 94 in the majors 5 years ago when he was in the league. We even have again a report from Fangraphs that he was holding that 94 to 97 mile an hour velo through all the way to the end of the Eagles playoff run. So again, bigger and stronger, holding stamina, holding velocity all the way to the end of the year. That right there, huge sign in Ponce's favor. Past that, he developed a new kick changeup that could be a huge weapon for him coming back to the majors against left-handed batters. Lance Brozdowski had a great write-up about Ponce about a month ago, where I got a lot of data about this kick changeup from. Also, this is a nice picture of Ponce's grip for that changeup, per a reply to one of Lance's tweets talking about it. But that pitch came in 8 miles an hour slower than the fastball and a 15-inch difference in vertical separation. So right there, a lot slower than the fastball. Big drop comparison to the fastball that had decent life on it for when he got that velocity up. The ball they use in Korea is a little bit different than Major League ball, but just based on those pitch specs right there, it seems like that pitch is plus. And if that pitch is plus, that's an easy way for Ponce to get left-handed batters out when he comes over. He also has a decent curveball, decent cutter, and a sinker. That sinker is something that I think he will use more in America. He didn't use it much in Korea because that 96 mile an hour velocity was able to just destroy hitters. Coming back here, I think he will need the sinker for the right-handed batters. Kind of get in and out of at-bats more quickly, force some ground balls, force some weak contact. But there's definitely the makings here of a successful Major League starting pitcher. He'll beat the deal Eric Fedde got 2 years ago, which was a 2-year, $15 million contract. That was the biggest ever a pitcher got coming back from Korea to the major leagues. Even if he's anywhere close to that, if he's like a 2 for 10 to be your 4 or 5 starter, I think Ponce will be a slam dunk. And someone I'll be targeting as a late-round flyer in fantasy drafts this coming year. Now, last up is MJ Melendez, who the Royals just non-tendered. I think overall, he's been my favorite player that was non-tendered at the deadline a week and a half ago. But there's still a lot of things about Melendez's game that makes me think he could be a successful major league player moving forward. And with that, you kind of have to look past what happened to him this past season because it was a total mess. He came out of the gate to go 4 for 52 with a 40% strikeout rate. That forced him to get demoted for a few months. When he came back from the minor leagues, he came back with these reports of a revamped swing. These were the same reports that he revamped his swing heading into the season, and neither time this revamped swing brought any kind of positive results. But just to look back a little bit, because again, we just want to make sure this guy can be a successful major leaguer after he was non-tendered. He has the traits to be a real power hitter in this league. First up, because the bat speed's still there. It's plus bat speed. But the shape of his average swing speed this year is really weird. Just to show you guys the charts real quick of Melendez's average swing speed from 2024 compared to 2025. There's this weird blip. He was trying to swing really hard, then he was like kind of swinging kind of soft. It just looks like a hitter that was lost, that was kind of up there with no plan of attack, and someone that was probably trying to chase on tilt to try and just figure out any way he could stay with the big club. But he still hit the ball hard when he made contact with it. He still had good damage rates. But the one thing to watch with Melendez that could stop him, that stopped him so far, is that while the bat speed is plus between 72 and 73 miles an hour, which is a good bit better than major league average, he has a very long swing at 7.7 feet. That's one of the longest swings in the entire league. So to have a very long swing and just slightly above average bat speed, that's really not a marriage for success. Usually the guys with the very long swings can find the best bat speed in the league. You know, your Junior Cameroneros, your Aaron Judges, your Shohei Ohtanis. Really long swings, generating a lot of force and just crushing the ball, even with some swing and miss issues. There probably does have to be a bit of an adjustment somewhere because he does swing and miss too much, a concession on a little bit of that bat speed to shorten the swing a bit, or make it a little bit longer and just take hacks every single time. Because Melendez does make fine swing decisions. He doesn't chase too much, and he swings the right pitches he should be going after in the zone. With that, he's also really good at going out and getting the ball and pulling the bulk of his fly balls. Also, low-key this past season, Melendez kind of got over the hump and became a passable corner outfielder in terms of outs above average, and he's always had a plus arm. There's still the makings here of a strong side platoon bat who can give you power and who can play passable defense again, whether it be in the corner outfield or at first base. There's something here in Melendez, and I hope a smart team takes a shot at him and gives him that try. And then I just got one honorable mention because I had to kick off Dylan Cease, who I had a lot to say about. But again, he signed right before Thanksgiving. Brad Keller. I think Brad Keller is a very fun, underrated reliever on the market right now. He sits 97-98 with a great sinker. Since he moved back to the bullpen last year. He was a shutdown back inning guy for the Cubs, and sneakily, I can see him reverting back to being a starter. He has a plus ground ball rate with that sinker that even likely would still go back to being 94, 95 miles an hour with him being stretched out to go back to the rotation. And he has two distinct slider shapes in this tight slider and this sweeper, plus a changeup he can rely upon. And adding this velo back into his game was great for his confidence in his four-seam fastball. This became an important weapon for him this past season against left-handed batters when their sinker wasn't as effective. And when you put all that together, deep repertoire, multiple fastballs, multiple breaking balls, high ground ball rate, again, this just kind of screams a successful mid-rotation, back-rotation starter, or a dominant back-end reliever. Again, either way, wanted to add that extra guy in there, but thank you guys so much. This is my 5+1 favorite free agents on the market right now. Again, if you guys like what you're watching, please subscribe to the channel. Gonna mix in some more of this baseball content through the offseason until fantasy baseball really gets kicking after the New Year's, but thank you guys so much. I'll see you next time.